The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
The Dallas Cowboys select Michael Parsons. Woo!
And now, your hosts, Brian Broaddus, Jeff Kavanaugh, Kyle Yeomans, and David Hellman.
It is Tuesday, February the 22nd, and we are back with a brand new episode of the Draft Show for y'all. Like the big voice said, I am David Hellman. I am joined as usual by Kyle Yeomans, Brian Broaddus, Jeff Kavanaugh. Morning, fellas. How we doing?
Doing well. Thank you.
I got to be honest, Brian. I'm happy about the news with the Combine that we're going to get to, but I'm a little disappointed because I thought I might be able to get a rant out of you today with everything that was going on with basically a threatened boycott of the activities at the Combine. I know how near and dear all of that is to your heart, and I thought you might have some fire to spit at us today if we thought the Combine wasn't going to happen the way it normally does.
No, I think that I've come to realization, though, that we're all going to go to Tallahassee and Gainesville and Baton Rouge and Los Angeles. We're still going to do that after the Combine. The most important thing about that Combine is those medicals. I need to know if I'm putting those tags on that board that those players are healthy enough for me to take. So my rant about that, but then again, you're talking to a guy that in 1993 was sitting there and wondering why they would ever put this on TV. You know, why would people really care about this?
And now the league is caving to agent demands because of not wanting to tank their ratings.
Yeah, no, and you know, I understand. It's the NFL has done a tremendous job of not giving us any days off. You know, they've made this a year-round job, which we're all grateful to have. But if they started messing with it, the agents had come out, you'd have got the rant from me about the medicals. If they would have said, we're boycotting the medicals too, now you would have got the rant.
Fair enough. Which, like I said, I'm a little bit disappointed to not hear it. But just in case you haven't been following this story, the NFL Combine is set to start in Indianapolis basically a week from today. I think the players get there on Monday, the 28th. But there was a bubble rule in place for COVID concerns, and the league had all of these restrictions, and the players and their agents were basically like, wait a second, like you're going to screw us over. Like, we're not going to have access to our trainers. We're going to be locked in our hotel rooms all day. And they basically said, we're not going to participate in any of these drills if you don't change the rules.
And I think another big thing on it was, weren't they going to clump a bunch of the skills and the power drills together?
Yes.
Like they were doing bench and running and all of that.
Some of that hasn't changed.
No,
that hasn't
changed. No, and I think that to me, though, and it's funny because when this was all going down, I reached out to somebody at the Cowboys about Dallas Day, and I reached out about the 30 visits. Because I was curious, you know, and the word is they're still going to have Dallas Day this year, which they hadn't had because of the COVID situations. And they were worried about that maybe the 30 visit thing, I said 30 days, 30 visit thing that they have, that maybe they would have to add more players to that the league would give them more opportunities to meet with guys. But then the league came out and said, hell no, we'll do all this other things to kind of make sure that we have it.
And it took all of 36 hours, Jeff, for the league to reverse course on that.
Well, yeah, because people weren't going to show up.
Oh, I think they would have showed up, to Brian's point, and
There was one major agency that announced last week where they were like, yeah, if they don't change this stuff, like, our players aren't coming. And I think that is your real catalyst, where it's just like, look, we're not going to do it. Because, look, at the Combine, the medicals are the most important, but if I'm going to go out there and run a short shuttle and a 40 and do these jumps, and I don't feel like the environment is conducive to me doing it well, I'm not doing it.
Yep.
We've lived with that before, though.
Because I could lose millions of dollars.
Yeah.
With bad runs.
But we've lived with that before. We've lived with.
They weren't going to this time.
No, we've lived with the guys not working out. Like I said, we're all going to get in our cars and planes and stuff and head for all these schools, you know. And what I'll tell you what, though, is also something that, you know, the NFL has proven, that if you don't play football in a year, we'll still draft you. You know, that's reality.
Damn near,
probably better.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
All of those guys
that's
had
what I'm
great
saying.
Rookie years,
absolutely,
by the way.
every single one of them. And there's a time where I wouldn't have believed that, and now the league has said, you know what? Fine. We had this COVID thing. We didn't have all the access to information. We didn't have all the medicals. We still put together a draft board, and we still drafted. And a lot of guys had success doing this. The medical part's the most scary thing to me because you've got players now that won't run a 40. I mean, there's plenty of guys that some of these top quarterbacks, whatever, they're not going to run. They're just not going to do it. And and it used to be that I was starved for numbers. It's really not the numbers anymore to me. It's more about the film, the medical, and how these guys are going to fit into my program.
Which, if you're new to this or if you don't follow the combine closely, Brian's brought up the medicals a few times, which a huge part of this.
It's a huge part.
When the guys, so downtown Indianapolis has 3 or 4 medical centers, hospitals. And the NFL has made it into a science. Actually, our dear buddy Chris Hall, the director of college scouting, still does, I believe,
he
have a big
has
hand
been
in
since
organizing
1992
that.
when I was working in. Yeah, he's been working with that.
And so all 300 of these players, or 290, whatever the number is, check in and they get MRIs and X-rays and get stuff that you've had surgery looked at, and all of that goes out to the league so that you have a complete medical picture on each guy that's participating. The drills obviously go on TV, but we all agree that that's the most important information coming out of this.
Yeah, the thing about it is these teams are broken up into pods of doctors, and you have the trainers and the doctors. So you might have 5 to 7 doctors per pod. So these kids aren't doing 32 individual medical evaluations. Now, the great thing about the medical evaluations at the Combine is, again, the doctors all working together, the teams all working together, sharing information, grades, and stuff like that. It really is well done, well put together by the trainers and how they do that. But this is the first time that you get to see these kids, because there used to be a time in the early 90s when I started where you were able to ask for the medical records of these players. And you got that from the trainers. Now with HIPAA laws, no, you don't get any of that stuff. So the first time that you know anything good or bad about a kid's neck, knee, shoulder, arm, wrist, lungs, whatever, is at the Combine. That's where a lot of things are discovered, that some of these kids play with a lot of ailments. But you got to know if there's something that is going to keep us from drafting this kid, you have to know that.
Well, there's also like the networking aspect outside of it. When they were bubbling up, the medicals were still going to be a part of that, right? It wasn't necessarily a question other than maybe the guys that Jeff was talking about. But there's that networking side between the teams, going out to dinner, kind of getting to know the player inside as much as they get to see the medicals.
The 15-minute interview is a great tool for getting to know these kids. Mm-hmm. The better tool is bringing kids on campus here and getting to know them. That's the thing. I think where you get the best evaluation of the kid.
Which, let me ask you. So this is where my brain goes, and we've all been to the Combine. It's one of our favorite events of the year, and so the NFL basically caved and gave in to these changes. Mm-hmm. So it's going to go off the way it usually does this year, but it makes me wonder. And I think it's an interesting thought because obviously the NFL is clearly interested in the monetization of the Combine. Like, the drills are televised. We've talked for years about the potential to move it to Los Angeles or maybe here. Dallas has been linked to it a lot. But do you feel like a shift away from the importance of the Combine is happening? Well, again, like, guys have opted out and it hasn't hurt them of seasons, let alone off-season stuff. Everybody's got a pro day. You just said that. And it just seems like going along with the idea that, players are willing to sit out of their bowl game. Players are willing to sit out of the end of a season. In this trend of player empowerment, do you see a future where the Combine's not as important as it has been for all these years?
I think it's definitely possible because we have advances in what you can get information-wise anyway, right? Like, we watch the tape and you're like, all right, that guy's fast. Okay, that guy's quick. Oh, okay, that guy's bendy. But now you have, I think some teams will view it as things that translate better anyway. Like, I don't need your 40 time because I have your GPS speed in pads while playing football. I know you're the fastest guy on the field because we're tracking all of you. You're fast. So I could see it. I think there will always be value in just knowing how healthy people are and trying to get to know them, which even that part's hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you're coached. The
Yeah.
players, before they get to the combine, to sit down with Brian Broaddus or the Jaguars or whoever, like they're coached on how to present themselves and how. Let me get my power stance.
It's like a job. It's a big job interview. It's
Yeah,
what it is.
and so you're like your goal is how healthy is he, and is he going to bust his butt to be the best player he possibly can? And you don't know if you're going to get those answers unless like the college coaches are honest with you and they're your buddies. I could see the combine either being modified big time or it won't. No, I take it all back. It will not go away.
And the league won't let it go away.
It makes too much money. Yeah,
Yep.
It makes too much money. Yeah, that's why the bubble's gone, because the league wants to televise their combine and have everybody there.
Well, I know for a fact that when you start to, like, I'll give an example. We talked about Derek Stingley the other day from LSU and the questions you might want to ask Derek Stingley. And talking to people at LSU about him, and there's questions about Ed Ingram too, the guard as well. But with Stingley, the words you're starting to hear is if you expect him to be the alpha male of the group, he's not going to be that guy. He's going to need a big brother. He's going to need somebody to help him along. An example that I was given was if Minnesota were to draft him and Patrick Peterson were still at Minnesota, that would be the ideal situation. But those are the kinds of questions you want to ask Stingley. If you're getting information from sources at LSU that are telling you these things about this player, then you want to ask those questions and see how he reacts. And that's where it's important. You know, LSU will tell you he didn't quit. He was legitimately hurt. But they'll also tell you, like, you know, this guy's not an alpha male. He's just not. He's one of those guys that the learning curve to be a leader and all that. Those are the kinds of questions I'd want to ask. To Jeff's point, that's important to me. It's important that I figure out how bad his foot is with that Liz Frank injury. And is it something that I'm always going to have to deal with? And once I get that taken care of, then I want to ask him these questions that I've learned about when I've talked to people at LSU about him.
Just to play devil's advocate, though, I mean, you can ask him all that stuff if you bring him to your campus.
No, that's what I'm
right?
saying,
Yeah.
though. But I'd like to know, maybe it's one of those things where maybe the answers he gives me at the combine, like, man, I don't like this kid's demeanor enough. You know, Sauce Gardner to me at Cincinnati came off as a better guy. He's a healthier. You know, if you're up there looking at a cornerback at the top of the draft, the reason you're talking to Derek Stingley is because you have a pick to go get him. You know, that's where – so if you're looking for a corner, I'm trying to separate these two guys because I know on everybody's board those tags are touching. I'm trying to get, okay, what's the difference between the two? What's making one guy tick? What's making one guy's health not be as good? You know, those are the kinds of questions I think at the combine. To me, those are the benefits. I can do without the workout. I really can.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing the workout provides me is like the old crusty scout I am, is that in 1992, I can compare numbers to 2022 to 1992. And then I have that data. That's the only thing that would work, that would bother people who are really into those numbers.
Do you think it's valuable at all that the combine at least gives you the combine at least gives you a baseline, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, maybe the field.
Well, the baseline is the tape. The baseline's – oh, you're talking about the
but,
numbers.
Yeah, like, I mean, maybe it's a slow track, but all these – we joke about it every year. All these guys head off to their pro days and shave 0.2 of a second off every time they have.
No question, because they roll out of their starts. You know, Mark Gorshak's not there, like, blowing the whistle and stopping them and all that. And these kids have rested. They haven't been pushed and pulled. You know, they're more comfortable in that environment, running downhill at Ohio State. You know, when you're sitting down there timing at the end, you're like, man, that guy looks like he's elevated. No, he's coming downhill at you. Those are good times, but you take them. You know, like I say, we're starting to lose, like Lucas Oil is different when we used to go to RCA Dome or the Hoosier Dome. Different track, different facility, different turf, and all those things. So the numbers probably don't mean as much as they once did.
I just wonder, and I mean, like, Jeff, you're totally right. I mean, as long as the combine makes money, it'll be a thing. But, like, I just think, and you tell me, Brian, if you agree with me, like, you've been doing this since the early 90s. Like, players just have more power than they ever have.
They do. They have a lot more power. And, you know, there was a time when didn't even have a first-round pick and get to talk to Michael Vick, you know? I mean, now a player would, like, you don't have a first-round pick, bro. I'm not talking to you, that kind of thing. You know, it's changed a lot. The agents have a lot of power in this thing, too. These players, the player association, J.C. Treader and those guys. I mean, they come out and say, "Hey, these guys don't have a voice yet." They don't. But players, like I say, these players, we're going to look at them, we're going to draft them, we're going to scout them and draft them. But like last year, we learned, if you can watch film from 2 years ago and determine how great of a player Micah Parsons was going to be, more power to you, man. If that's all you need. All you need is tape, and all you need is the ability to evaluate. And does he fit in your scheme, and can you do other things with him? All the other stuff is just kind of like, whatever. The guy can play. He can play.
I think we're in for some sort of shift here over the next few years. That's just the overarching feeling that I get.
And I think it's an involuntary thing that was started by the 2020 pandemic. I mean, it started with the fact that you got your
COVID.
Yep. It started with the fact that you had that combine in 2020. You had it all go normal as to plan, and then immediately the pro days were nixed, the visits were nixed. All of that goes away. And then the next year you had the combine, or no combine, but you had all the pro days. So you got to see out of those two classes which one matters more. And if you ask some of these scouts, you ask some of the team other than the medicals at the combine, you really feel like the informational gathering that you once got from the combine, you could get anywhere else along the way. And Jeff made a great point with the GPS and the technology that is advanced in this game, and that's going to only continue to get better and better.
It's wild.
It's a huge thing these scouting departments and these front offices could use to their
Some
advantage.
will say that the Cowboys have actually drafted better in the chaos.
Yeah.
If you think about it,
their
their board has been better. When you think there's chaos, just go with your board. That's how you kind of look at those things.
Is there going to be chaos this year?
I don't know. Without a bunch of quarterbacks, top-rated quarterbacks, and really not a sure number one.
I don't think there will be informational chaos.
No. But there'll be guys, because you have teams that have multiple picks.
Yeah.
And they will look to will teams look to go up? Will teams look to will they stand there and make picks? I think that's where, when you have teams that are holding a lot of cards ahead of you, you're kind of at the mercy of those teams. I think that's where other teams are having to deal with right now.
Last thought.
The combine will stick around for a while because Dave, as you know, is a man who has spent a good portion of his career trying to hide in the weeds and see if you can spot people talking to people as part of your job.
I do that.
He's very good at
the
it,
combine's about all the combine stuff, but it's also about the incredibly rich people at the very top of the NFL getting together and drinking beer and eating steak.
It's a big thing.
It is.
You're right.
St. Elmo's.
They want to hang out with their friends.
It matters. It matters to the establishment, and that means it won't go away. That's a very good point. All right, we got into the nuts. We got it. Speaking of the weeds, we got into the weeds of combine talk. We're going to talk about some prospects that we're going to watch the combine in the third segment. But before that, we've got your questions coming up at Twitter on the 20. We will be right back to do that.
At Smoothie King, we are blending goodness to fuel your greatness. Every blend is crafted to help you achieve your health and fitness goals. Smoothie King uses only whole fruits and organic veggies. You'll never find sugary syrups or artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives. And unlike some other smoothie places, there are 0 grams of added sugar in many of our blends. Smoothie King is proud to be the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys. Place your order in the app or online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King, rule the day.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Football season is almost over, and that means tax season is here. With it comes taxiety. Filing taxes can be stressful if you choose the wrong partner. Don't let taxiety take over this tax season. Liberty Tax will help you get your largest possible refund or your money back. With more than 12,000 tax professionals nationwide, help is always around the corner. Check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/cowboys. Liberty Tax, a brighter way to do taxes.
Hey, Cowboys fans, if you're thinking about attending a game this season, visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today. Stay at the team hotel, have dinner with a Cowboys legend, and experience AT&T Stadium's exclusive VIP ownership. Runners Club. Also, tour the star, get autographs from your favorite players, and talk X's and O's with me, Mickey Spagnola. The official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys will take care of all your travel needs. Visit cowboystravel.com.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Liberty Tax is a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/Cowboys. It is tax season, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I'm behind on that.
Love me some taxes.
I feel like the draft.
Quitting your job doesn't mean you don't have to file taxes, just for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to pay this year, too. So if anybody out there's got some extra money laying around, I'm going to need to give it to the government. So just be on the lookout for me online and give me your money.
There you go.
Yeah. Be on YouTube.
Welcome back to the Draft Show. You know the drill by now. It's the second segment, which means
Twitter on the 20.
And as usual, we've got a lot of good ones. Jeff, I feel like I want you to answer. I mean, you can all answer this, obviously, but I'm going to start with you because B? No.
Yeah, B.
Ron wants to know
Sky Moore.
If Tyler Linderbaum and Jayron Green were both available, would you take Nakobe Dean over them?
Kenyon Green.
Sorry. Oh, my God. Jayron Kearse was on your station this morning.
He was.
I got confused. I'm sorry.
It's not my
Yes.
Great interview, by the way.
I guess it is still my station.
And yes, it is still your station for
like
a
a
few more
week.
days.
Yeah, for a week.
Basically, a classic debate over available guys. Like, what do you value more between those offensive linemen or Nakobe Dean?
All right, coming in hot here. Linderbaum 1. I would take the center number 1. Kenyon Green number 2. Nakobe Dean number 3. Nakobe Dean might be as good or better than the other two at their jobs, but man, people are not going to like to hear this because Micah Parsons has been so good. I'm taking an offensive lineman that I love over a linebacker that I love all day, every day.
Ooh.
All day, every day.
Does that mean that you would still take Slater over Parsons?
I refuse to answer that question.
Why?
It's a push. It doesn't matter. Just you couldn't go wrong. But Parsons is different because Parsons is more than a linebacker.
Exactly.
Nakobe Dean is not going to line up at defensive end and get you and have the highest pass rush win rate in the NFL. Not going to happen. Fair. Micah Parsons is a freak show. Nakobe Dean is an awesome linebacker, and I'd love him at 24. But if you told me that you have a great center prospect and a great guard prospect, I'm going the center, the guard, then the linebacker.
It's the same argument that we had last year.
Yeah.
At least we're consistent in the way we're talking about it. But yeah, it's exactly right. And Brian said this on multiple occasions. If you could have told me going into that draft that Micah Parsons was going to be what Micah Parsons was this year and the way that he was able to be utilized in a versatility standpoint, then you can talk about taking him over Rashawn Slater because you're taking an edge rusher at that point. However, I'm right there with Jeff. I'm in the exact order. Linderbaum, Green, then Nakobe Dean. But this also brings up a question for me. I was watching Devin Lloyd again yesterday out of Utah, linebacker. Does he go before Nakobe Dean?
He will on some boards because he's 6'3".
I bet he will.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I would bet on Nakobe Dean as the player over Devin Lloyd, but I would bet on Devin Lloyd being drafted before Nakobe Dean.
I agree with you. I have him 1, 2, or I have Dean 1, I have Lloyd 2, but I could see Lloyd going quicker in front of that, and then maybe you get a conversation about that later on.
You agree with that assessment, Brian? Those three players?
Linderbaum, Dean, Green for me.
So you go Dean over
Brian.
Green.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
What? Why?
Because I feel like there's some second-round guards that are capable players. And the thing about it is I think there's some capable second-round linebackers, too. Some guys that you could plug in and play. I mean, we mentioned Harris. We mentioned Clark. Those are the types of guys that you're probably being looking at right there. But me personally, like I say, I think there's things with Green. To me, I still hold hope. If I don't get my guard, that they'll come to the realization that they need to move Lyle Collins. That's my hope. And that's my protection. And I don't have a really good answer at linebacker right now for you. I don't. That's why I have to go grab Dean.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing about what we just did with that exercise, 2 of the 3 guys have physical limitations with like lack of size and height, but are really, really good football players.
Yeah.
So, that's probably why you're sitting there looking at them potentially at 24. Because if they were a little bit bigger, a little bit more taller, if they were Lloyd's size or height, then we probably wouldn't be talking about Dean at 24.
This is an open-ended question from Drew. You can take it in whatever direction you want. Stop. 2022 draft picks that you feel would get more out of Micah Parsons.
Oh, defensive tackles.
Jordan
Davis, 100%.
Travis Jones at UConn.
Fedarian Mathis, Alabama.
I figured defensive tackles would be the answer.
Yeah.
Is there another spot? Is there another position that could?
Yeah, there is.
Go for it.
A linebacker.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Kobe
saying.
Dean would get
Another
more
guy.
out of Parsons because Parsons could go rush the passer.
That's what I would say. I mean, you talk about the defensive tackles and stuff like that, but where Micah Parsons absolutely wrecks your game is as a pass rusher. So to me, if I knew that I had somebody that I could put in his spot that could run and tackle like he does, and while I put him down, say he doesn't get to the quarterback, but the ball gets out, and now I got Kobe Dean running that football to make a play. Absolutely, that's the route you need to go.
This defense would be fun as hell if Micah Parsons, Kobe Dean, and Jabril Cox all played for it.
That's what I'm saying. You got guys that can cover, and you got guys that can run, and you got guys that can finish.
My God,
nobody would get 7 yards down the field. It'd just be a straight wall across the way.
I wouldn't bet on it. Yeah. Kyle wants to know if you were to draft Tyler.
Kyle, why didn't you just ask?
I could have just
Ask
asked.
here.
You
You
didn't even think about that.
I'm sad I'm not the host.
Kyle, not Yeomans. Yeah, why are you tweeting me, bro? You got my phone number. Kyle, not Yeomans, wants to know if you were to draft Tyler Linderbaum, what do you do with Tyler Biadasz? Could he play guard, or do you just all of a sudden have a very quality backup center?
You have a backup center there.
Yeah.
I don't
The honest answer is you don't care.
Yeah.
Like he's on the roster, and that's cool.
Yeah.
He'll be there for another 2 years.
You're always
figure it out.
The one thing that's happened with this offensive line, and we all saw it with our own eyes, that was a problem last year. They didn't block well enough. They didn't protect well enough. Whether that's them, the line coach, whoever, they need to upgrade a couple of spots, and they might be in a little trouble at left tackle on age and health. The right guard, we talk about all pro, and maybe there's a little bit of slippage going on there.
North of 30.
Yeah. And then, with the right tackle, there was some slippage going on there as well. He missed a bunch of games because he got suspended. So yeah, the questions you have, you shouldn't be afraid to replace anybody over there. If you're looking at that thing and being honest with yourself, you didn't run the ball, you didn't protect, it affected the way you moved the football, affected the way the play caller called the game. Couldn't go to some things he probably wanted to because he couldn't get couldn't run the football. So, yeah, don't worry about anybody's feelings on that offensive line. You need to figure that thing out.
And just from a pure roster building standpoint and numbers game, look over the last 2 seasons. 2020, you had Joe Looney and Tyler Biadasz. This past year, you had Tyler Biadasz and insert name here. It was either Connor Williams or Josh
Connor
Ball,
McGovern.
Connor McGovern. There was really nobody there. Yeah, Farniak. You felt better about your center situation when you had 2 guys there. So if you wanted to keep Tyler Biadasz around, replace him, but don't feel like you have to deal him. Just have him there, have him as a quality backup. We've already seen the revolving door of an offensive line the last 2 years as well, speaking to Brian's point. And having somebody there that has that starting experience is going to be valuable moving forward, especially if they're on a rookie deal, which Tyler Biadasz will be for 2 more years.
I say it all the time, but people are so afraid of having depth because they feel like they're not making the most of an opportunity. I'll take the depth 99 times out of 100.
Especially up front.
Dogs lead the way. We've talked about all of these players.
Is it DAWG or DOG?
Just the animal. Dogs lead the way.
Trying to figure out if it was a Georgia guy.
No, that makes sense.
Or Washington Husky.
No, I think the Twitter Avi was actually like a beagle. I think he just likes dogs.
Okay.
Or she. We've talked about all these players, but he or she wants us to sort them out. All safeties. Daxton Hill out of Michigan. Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State. Lewis Seen out of Georgia. Jalen Petrie out of Baylor. Stack them for me. Somebody.
That was almost in order. Mine would be Daxton Hill as a guy who is a borderline first-round sort of player at Michigan. He would be, I guess Petrie's not big either. I was going to say he's the small one of this group, but he's also the one that, holy cow, can he fly and can play nickel, can play safety, whatever. Jaquan Brisker at Penn State is a dude that I really like while acknowledging, I'm watching him and I'm like, is he an elite athlete? No. Is he like whatever you're looking for? Is he elite trade? I'm like, no. It's like, what's he bad at? No. So like, okay, that's a starting NFL safety. So I would go Daxton Hill, then Jaquan Brisker, then Jalen Petrie, then Lewis Seen, the Georgia safety. And I think all of them are picked in the first 60 picks.
He's absolutely right. The order he had is absolutely right.
Nailed it.
Oh, what's up now? Anybody want a piece?
Yeah.
Damn.
Kyle, you want to argue with that?
I was
Ryan today?
I was hoping we were going to have a fight.
Right
That's
back
why I
into
picked this
Jalen
question.
I've got Hill, Brisker, Seen, Petrie, but they're all touching tags. It's literally 2 through 5 for me.
You think they all go top 60?
I would think he's right about that. Yeah.
Maybe Brisker doesn't because he's an old man. Like I think he's 23 and he was a redshirt senior, and
no.
the NFL hates old people.
He'll be
Except if
23 by draft day.
Okay.
Except if you're Terrence Newman, who they told us was too old, and he played like 20 years.
Yeah.
Good point, Brian.
Have you watched more Hamilton yet? Do you still hate him?
I ignore him.
Okay, cool. I mean, he's probably not.
He's getting picked in the top 10. What do I care?
So
Cowboys aren't picking him.
Good.
You have Kyle Hamilton as a likely top 10.
Yeah.
And then these guys all start going somewhere between 25 and 40.
Yeah, I think so.
And they're all gone by 60.
I've said this a couple of times on the show. I thought that Dax Hill was the Cowboys pick at 24. That's before I really got into the draft. I mean, he was one of the first safeties. Him and Hill were the first two. And I kind of thought, okay, this guy fits the profile of what you want in a safety. He can cover on the outside. He can blitz. He can play down in the box. He can play back. I just thought of versatility. I thought of Dan Quinn. And this is really kind of with not knowing, maybe thinking that Dan Quinn was going to take the Denver Broncos job. But I kind of felt like that if they got a carryover, if there's some of the similar coaches, that maybe they would use Dax Hill as that type of player. So, yeah, I think where you're talking about right around 24 on back is when we're going to start seeing these guys come off the board.
Do you think the fact that Jayron Kearse, and at least he was on your station earlier today talking about a potential return, with Dan Quinn coming back, if he's back, does that affect anything at all to you?
I think that to me it's about players and their money. This guy didn't make money. You can't sit there and say, I'm going to be loyal. Now, Randy Gregory will tell you that he's loyal to Jerry and Steven and the family for what they've done to him. But how loyal? Are you $12 million a year loyal? $13 million a year loyal? How loyal? Yeah. But if someone offers him $16, $18 million, you got to go do what you got to do. So to say that Dan Quinn being here helps, sure. But these guys have got to go out and make money. They have a very limited opportunity to do that.
Jayron Kearse has the potential to get a signing bonus this spring that is larger than all of his career earnings over the last 6 years.
What is his market value? Like 1.5, something like that?
Not anymore.
I bet it's $5 million a year.
I bet the
two-year, $10 million deal.
The totality of his deal, 5
or 3 for 15.
I was thinking something like 3 for 15, 3 for 18. I could see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're talking a 6th-round pick who signed a $1 million deal last year. In the world of the NFL, he has not made a ton of money.
Yeah, but when you study all the top 50 free agents and stuff going places and stuff, he's not ever in that mix of the top 50.
I think he's probably.
But he's played like a guy that deserves to be paid.
If he had played this year for the last 3 years, he would be in everybody's top 50.
No question.
I just think the world doesn't realize it because he's been there. Like he was never a starter. But
and I do.
If you had that year consistently, they talk about you for Pro Bowls.
Yep.
And your market's huge.
I think he was probably an alternate for the Pro Bowl if I had to guess.
Okay.
So to your point, I do think sometimes you overvalue the guys that you watched all year, and you're like, oh, like he was amazing.
It's a tough position, though.
Yeah,
he didn't play as a true safety. He played really all over.
Yep.
And the fact that he created turnovers, was tackling well, was really a leader out there. I mean, there's a lot of really positive things you can talk about him because I think coming out of Clemson, I know I didn't think all that. I didn't think he could cover and be all that he has.
I don't think you need to apologize because the league thought that too. He was a 6th-round pick at the end of the day.
Yep.
Javier, Brian, I made sure you had watched him. Javier wants to know about Leo Chenal, the Wisconsin linebacker.
Yeah, this guy's a throwbacks linebacker in the way he plays. He's 6'2", he's 252. We were talking about last week the guys that potentially could be that Mike linebacker. This guy's it. He's a physical guy. He's a downhill player. He's always attacking the line of scrimmage. He makes his share of plays just right at or behind the line of scrimmage in the way he plays. He can finish when he gets around the ball. He's going to wrap up. He's going to make sure tackles most every single time. I love the way he works through traffic. You know, he does things usually to engage. It's usually quick to get rid of the blocker and then get to the ball. The burst is there. He's got the ability to get on the quarterback quickly, rushing from that linebacker position. So I don't see much of coverage with this guy because I think it's all underneath stuff for him. It's kind of drop, sit in a zone, and then react that way. So I felt like he was better when he could try and attack the pocket, the effort, the motor, all that's great. So, you know, if you like a player that's got instincts, awareness, is super physical, he's the type of guy, again, I kind of see him as a Mike linebacker only because I really don't know how much you can really play him in coverage.
By the way, Chanel,
sorry.
Yep.
I knew I didn't have that.
No,
right.
I got you.
I'll get it.
Remember,
together.
that's my role. Jeff told me that day one.
I think 20 years ago he'd have been drafted a lot higher than he's going to get drafted.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different game.
Yeah. Big, strong, forward-playing man.
I will say, he's got you just described like a fourth-round player.
I have him in the third.
Third, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually have Walker from Georgia, Tyndale from Georgia ahead of him as my inside linebacker guys.
Just out of curiosity, and one of the things you hear first when you start talking about the draft is scout the player, not the helmet. Mm-hmm. But is there a balance there where and obviously you're not going to draft Leo Chanel in the first round, but you look at it and you say, okay, a Wisconsin linebacker, he's probably pretty smart and tenacious and gets to the football. You know, like you kind of, you're
That's
like,
their MO.
And you're like, yeah, these guys know how to produce like quality NFL linebackers. Like, is there something to be said for that, or is that dangerous?
I think that, you know, to me, when there are certain positions and certain teams that you didn't want, you never wanted a Penn State running back. There was a time there where you didn't want a Mississippi State defensive tackle. You know?
Not anymore.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Sometimes the narrative changes on these players. But I think what happens with Wisconsin, and they've done a much better job because their team's better. There was a time when Wisconsin, before Barry Alvarez, wasn't great in football. And they were always lucky to have one or two guys that were really, really good, that were tough and hard-nosed and all that. That's kind of always been the MO about their team. They just have better players now. They've gotten better as again through the Barry Alvarez era and stuff. They've found a way to scout better guys. And I think when you watch Wisconsin and you watch this kid play, you appreciate how tough he is. But Jeff's right. He probably goes higher, 10, 12 years ago because of what he is. He's a Mike linebacker. That's really all he is. But if you want a tough one, that's a good one to have.
You can still make a living doing that.
Absolutely.
Ask Anthony Hitchens.
Yep. Probably better cover guy, Anthony Hitchens.
Well, yeah. I mean, Anthony Hitchens has had a long and productive career as a fourth-round pick. Clearly, he's figured some things out.
Yeah.
Our guy Chanel views the forward pass as a trick play. He's like, wait, what is happening? I thought we were going to meet up and smash each other.
Another what would you do from Christian. B. He wants you to debate. I don't think your answer is going to be B on this one. I think it's going to be A because A is George Karlaftis.
Ooh, I like him.
B is Zion Johnson.
Ooh.
I just think, we went over this last week.
You can't window dress your board, and my board would tell you that's Zion Johnson there, and that's George Karlaftis there, and that's a tie, ladies and gentlemen.
Literally even.
See, I think you tell me if I'm crazy.
I like Zion Johnson, I think, more than a lot of people do. I think that he is going to be a step-in starter at guard, and I think he's going to be really, really good forever.
I just don't get the impression, mainly because of the position that he plays, I think Karlaftis doesn't hang around that long.
Well, here's the thing, Mr. Hellman.
Okay, tell me.
Hutchinson goes before him. Thibodeau goes before him.
Those are top 10 guys.
Trayvon Walker goes in the top 15, everybody's saying. Jermaine Johnson, after the Senior Bowl, could he go before Karlaftis? Maybe. David Ojabo, a lot of people are telling me, will go before George Karlaftis. There is a chance that Karlaftis is like the 6th or 7th edge off the board.
Fair.
That can't make 24?
No, it can. No, it definitely can. Like I'm not like, oh, just forget about it. It ain't gonna happen. I lean toward thinking he won't be there. I don't know, Brian. What do you think?
I would take Karlaftis over. Matter of fact, I have Ed Ingram over Zion Johnson on my guard board.
That's sexy.
Is what I do. And I know people are going to say it's an LSU deal. It's really not.
Clearly is.
It's a situation where
It's ridiculous.
I'm just looking at better football players is what I'm looking at, Jeff.
Woo, get out.
And see, that's the thing about it is that
10-year bet.
Absolutely, you got that, no problem.
Wow.
Boom, done.
I think the thing with Zion Johnson, I think people are pumping air in him. I really do. I think he's a good player. I think if you're thinking about him coming in, plug and play, and all that, I think he's going to struggle there. I don't think there's any real nastiness to his game, and I think that's the biggest problem I have with him is I don't see a great finisher with this guy. I watch Ed Ingram play and some of these other guards. There's finish there. There's guys getting into their blocks, second-level blocks, knocking guys on the ground, stuff like that. Good pass set, knee bend, power, strength, all those things. I think everybody has pumped a lot of air in Zion Johnson. Myself, I'm
proud to do the pumping and enjoy the Pro Bowls. If your team takes Zion Johnson, be happy. He's going to start at left guard for you. He's going to make the Pro Bowl in his second or third year, and you're going to be really happy. You're going to be thrilled.
I think Johnson's a good player.
Okay, so let me ask some real quick question here. So how close do you have him and Green?
Green is a real-life first-round kind of guy. Zion I have in the 1-2 cheater grade area, where it's like pick him in the 20s.
Okay.
So you have Karlaftis in the 1-2 cheater grade area too?
Yeah.
I think I have a true first on Karlaftis.
I have him in
that's
the
why
first
I
round
would
too myself.
Easily put him as the winner of that. I think it's a great question because it goes back to what your needs are at 24, and if that was what the scenario was, right? Who would you take? I mean, there's a chance that you would want to lean guard, kind of like what we were saying earlier, if something were to pop up that way. But I think Karlaftis in that scenario is the much further advanced, more lethal player. So I would take him 10 times out of 10.
Add Ed Ingram and Zion Johnson to the talk whiteboard.
I just say you need to take a look at Ed Ingram.
Yeah.
I really, really do. Because to me, what
had a nice Senior Bowl.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. This guy is he's one of those guys that, to me, I watch a powerful guy. I watch a guy that plays with technique, has a good base, all that. When you watch, the biggest problem that Zion Johnson has is when his head goes down, he's a terrible football player, and that happens to him quite a bit. So to me, when you talk about the Pro Bowls and all those things, yeah, and maybe you're going to be right about that. I'm betting you're going to be wrong.
Well, it's a good bet. I'll bet against Ed Ingram, too, and I'll bet whatever you want because if we bet against all these players, we'll win way more than we lose.
Yeah,
just bet against all of them.
Yeah.
I got one more that I really like from Eric. It's Cowboys Draft 101 that they have not really drafted small school prospects in Will McClay's tenure. I think Reggie Robinson out of Tulsa and all the Boise guys are really the closest that they've gotten. I guess Tristan Hill.
Neither one of those are really small school guys.
Right, exactly.
Still American
You're
Athletic
still,
Mountain West Conference.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, with that in mind, is there a small school guy? And if you wanna do group of 5, that's fine. But you can go FCS, whatever you want.
People are talking about Penning, the tackle from Northern Iowa.
The first name that comes to my mind.
Yeah, I mean,
I would draft that guy without hesitation
and
after watching him at the Senior Bowl.
Raymond from. Raymond from the kid, the tackle from
the European fella.
Yeah, I mean
Central Michigan.
Central Michigan, yeah.
Jalen Tolbert, wide receiver, South Alabama.
Yeah.
Nicholas Zakel, Fordham offensive tackle as a developmental prospect.
Fordham.
See
See
that 7 blocks of granite.
I start to get scared when I hear Fordham. I don't know.
He's not like a first or second round guy,
sure.
But he's a guy you could take later in the draft and feel pretty good about. And they saw him at the Senior Bowl. So if it kind of goes back to the conversation we had previewing the Senior Bowl is if they're going to take a small school guy, most likely they've seen him up close and personal either in Mobile at the Combine with a potential interview there or during Dallas Day or one of the visits.
If they do it, I would bet it would be a Senior Bowl player.
Exactly.
I don't know if I've mentioned him. I doubt y'all have watched Dominique Robinson out of Miami, Ohio.
Oh, I did.
I was really impressed by what he did in Mobile.
Edge rusher?
That's a guy that's sort of like hanging around on the periphery of my radar.
He tore up my North Texas Mean Green in the bowl game. I saw it up close and personal.
Tolbert's a good name, by the way, for that wide receiver
South
spot.
Alabama?
Yeah.
He seemed like he really turned a lot of heads down.
No, he sure did. He's going to – I mean, I think that again, don't pay attention to speed. Pay attention to the plays he makes down the field because he's going to lack some speed, but the guy does separate. I mean, and he catches every ball thrown his direction. So it's a good name.
All right, that does it for Twitter on the 20 for this show. When we come back from this break, we're going to talk Combine prospects.
Football season is almost over, and that means tax season is here. With it comes taxiety. Filing taxes can be stressful if you choose the wrong partner. Don't let taxiety take over this tax season. Liberty Tax will help you get your largest possible refund or your money back. With more than 12,000 tax professionals nationwide, help is always around the corner. Check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/Cowboys. Liberty Tax, a brighter way to do taxes.
Hey, Cowboys fans, if you're thinking about attending a game this season, visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today. Stay at the team hotel, have dinner with a Cowboys legend, and experience AT&T Stadium's exclusive VIP Owners Club. Also, tour the star, get autographs from your favorite players, and talk X's and O's with me, Mickey Spagnola. The official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys will take care of all your travel needs. Visit cowboystravel.com.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, sinking, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
This is Chad Hennings, former Cowboy and proud veteran of the United States Air Force. When my fellow military veterans choose VA, they receive life-changing benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you are a veteran, you may be eligible for healthcare, education, and training benefits, a home loan guarantee, housing assistance, and more. Choose VA for the benefits you've earned. Visit choose.va.gov to learn more. That's choose.va.gov.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Discount days are back. Join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, the official fan club of the Dallas Cowboys, to receive up to 30% off Pro Shop in-store purchases from February 24th to 27th. Visit united.dallascowboys.com today. That sale is starting on Thursday and only lasting over the weekend, so take note.
So get here.
United.dallascowboys.com. You heard it here first. Okay, so we spent the first segment of this show talking about how weird and different the Combine might be, but let's just operate in a world where everyone's going to do all of the fun stuff and give us football-related things to watch. I would love to just get a short list from y'all about guys you're excited to see or guys you're curious to see. You know, we talk about whether it's, oh, this guy needs to have a great 3-cone, or maybe he's not going to have such a great 3-cone. Whatever it might be, I would just like to hear some names that you're interested in seeing, assuming everybody works out this week.
I'm kind of interested in these cornerbacks just because I think they're all pretty close. I think Gardner, Stingley, McDuffie are all pretty close in the way they play. You could throw McCrary in there, Elam, Booth. I mean, this is a good list of cornerbacks. I'm interested to see how they all interact with each other. I'm interested in seeing the movement. I'm interested in seeing the numbers that they get out of that stuff with the shuttles and things. That kind of tells me something. The 3-cone stuff, the short shuttle things. You know, those are always very interesting to me. But I do think it's a pretty close group. I think that these edge rushers need to separate themselves too. In what I have a feeling that Jobo is probably going to work out the best, but he's probably the rawest of all the group. So and Jeff has told me, because he's seen Karlaftis work out with his own eyes or move around, that maybe it's not going to be great. And I wonder if the narrative coming out of India is going to be, this guy's stiff and he can't do this, can't do that.
Is there AJ Epinesa potential with Karlaftis? Because remember, I mean, around this time, I just bring him up because he had a terrible combine.
Yep. It's fair because of that, and I don't think Karlaftis is going to have a great combine, but I think on tape they're infinitely different. Like Epinesa was, 285, super long. Yeah. Like that was his game. Karlaftis plays like he's a really good athlete.
Yeah.
Like he's just in there just banging through.
So if he goes out and he tests poorly, it's going to knock him more so than maybe even an Epinesa?
I guess in theory it could. But he's just one of those dudes that Karlaftis, to me, his tape is too good to knock him out of the first round. It's too good. But we could come out of the combine and people be like, oh, he's a, quote, bad athlete. He's not long. Yeah. He doesn't have long arms. He's a bad athlete. Holy cow, we can't pick that in the first round. I will.
I was about to say,
I will.
Yeah, one of those situations where you're like, sure, push him
Trust
down the board.
tape, please.
Push him down the board.
See what's going to happen, too, with these defensive tackles. If Jordan Davis ends up running like a 4.94 or something like that.
I've heard it's possible.
See, that's what I'm saying. And all of a sudden, that's where one day we're all going to be sitting there and we're going to be doing a draft show and we're going to get those numbers. And they're like, yeah, you ran 4.94 or 4.98, something like that. And you're going to go at that weight. And it's gonna again, we're gonna just shoot a bunch of air, or the people will shoot a bunch of air into, well, man, he's not gonna be there at 24. He's gonna eat, and then they'll start the Vita Vea comparisons and all that stuff like that, and it's not the same player. So I think you have to be kind of mindful of really what these guys are. If you have the opportunity to study these guys, however you do it, hook or crook, just take a look and kind of know when this guy plays, that's what he is. If he runs really, really well or he doesn't run really well, don't kill them for that. Just trust your eyes on that tape that you saw a really, really good football player or you didn't see a good football player.
At the Combine, I'm interested in seeing the men from Michigan. Namely,
Central Michigan?
Well, 3 of them. From
Western
the University of...
The Wolverines. Hail to the victors.
I was thinking Sky Moore again.
Well, yeah, always Sky Moore. Yes. I'm
more Sky Moore.
Yes, Sky Moore. Listen, if this team ended up with Ed Ingram and Sky Moore,
you would be
Brian
doing
and I
backflips.
would throw so many pizza parties. Okay,
I got a tomahawk chop riding on this thing. Because he knows I paid a tomahawk chop before for stupidity bets.
I didn't take this question for Twitter on the 20, but somebody asked.
Is it about Sky Moore?
Somebody asked who the pizza party player is.
It's Sky Moore.
It's Sky Moore.
Yeah.
Write that down.
I already forgot what school he went to.
Western Michigan.
Western Michigan.
Yeah, one of the
fucking uniforms, man.
I just said it 2 seconds ago.
Well, yeah, and
you said the men from Michigan, then I started naming off Sky Moore's college.
My memory has to be, it's almost in real time. Things fade away in real time.
Right
yes.
Can I ask a question? Can you sort these wide receivers out at the Combine? Or is it going to be a problem?
I don't think so.
Is Wilson going to solidify himself as the number one guy for the wide receiver crew?
Could.
You want a bold prediction on that? I think if all the guys do all the things, that it would be more likely Garrett Wilson has people raising eyebrows skeptically than going, ooh.
Really?
I bet he runs in the 4.5s.
He might.
I don't think he's real life NFL wide receiver fast. I think he's good and explosive and accelerates.
I knew I could count on you.
I don't think he's real life fast.
Tell me if this is a hot take. Traylon
Burks might outrun Garrett Wilson.
He will. There's a couple of receivers that are going to outrun him. Burks is one. I think Sky Moore will outrun him. I think there's a ton of guys.
You've seen Burks in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is he 225 pounds?
He might be now. When
you saw him first, he was 241.
It's none of your business. It's not my business to share. Listen, when seasons end and you go to show up for your training,
but you're
showing up for your training. You're not done yet.
You and I do radio every day about Luka doing this. Yeah.
That was very delicately said, Jeffrey. Very delicately said.
Yeah, I think he showed up to his training with some training to do.
Let me ask you.
And that he'll go from running like a 4.6 to a 4.4.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Last month and this month.
Receiver, man. Could Burks come out of this thing being the number one receiver?
I think for some people, because I think that he will.
Steve-O Samuel.
Training
that's what they're talking about.
6'3", 225-ish, and I think he can get into the 4.4s. And I don't even know his comp. It's something between Debo, A.J. Brown, and DK Metcalf. Something.
I was thinking DK.
Of that mix.
I know.
Something of that
is
mix.
crazy. You're good with that.
Is it a hot take if I think receiver is very, very high on the list of positions where I basically don't care what you do at the Combine? I want to see... if you're
Unless you run like a 4.9, I don't care.
Okay, within reason, yeah.
Right.
I care less about the quarterbacks myself. At the Combine.
Even the throwing side of things?
Yeah, I do.
Maybe.
Wow.
I do.
I didn't say receiver was the only position I don't care about.
The two I care least about are actually linebacker and running back.
Fair.
Because they don't have direct opponents in football.
Well, you
So
just
it
take
doesn't-
those positions anyways.
Well, kind of. But also, like a wide receiver, is it relevant if you're faster or not than the guy who's literally standing right in front of you to cover you? Of course it is. For a running back, is it relevant if you're faster than pick a player on the defense? No. Not at all, in any way, shape, or form, because I don't have a direct opponent that I have to run past.
I just think the tape should tell me everything I need to know about what a receiver can and can't do. Like, can you get behind the cornerback?
Mhm.
Can you create separation?
Quarterback
Can you
should be
get
the
open?
same way.
Yeah.
Because to me, the quarterbacks, you're at the mercy of who you're throwing the ball to. If your last name starts with a B, then you're likely throwing with A, B, and C, depending on who those receivers are. Sometimes
Traylon Burks.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you get a run of really good receivers you get to throw the balls to, and then other times you're throwing the balls to guys that you're like, why is this guy here? Why is this guy here? It's kind of a thing. So all of a sudden you don't look as good because the route's not as good. The ball's there. You get a drop, and all of a sudden you're like, is that a drop because of the receiver, or is that a drop because of a bad throw? And by the way, the pro day at the school, that does nothing for me either.
Wow.
Just let me watch the tape of a quarterback. Let me watch every single throw. And I could tell you generally if the guy's going to be a good player.
I wanted to follow up with you about what you said about the cornerbacks. The prevailing logic right now seems to be that it's Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati and Derek Stingley out of LSU. And
Don't forget our kids at Washington.
Let me finish the damn point. So, again, the prevailing logic is that there's like a line, and then you go Trent McDuffie.
I don't know if there's a line.
You answered my question for me. So I wanted to ask, do you think McDuffie has a real chance to kind of climb into that
I absolutely
bunch?
do, yeah.
Or if you sound like you think he's already there.
I think he's already there. I mean, he's one of my – if you talk about the three guys, to me it's Gardner, Stingley, McDuffie. Those are my three guys.
Wouldn't be surprised if McDuffie were picked before Stingley. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Just because I think teams are going to have enough questions about Stingley, and McDuffie's tape is good enough and recent enough that you're like, hey, what do we think about picking one we trust more?
I'm biased. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think Stingley's one of the more interesting prospects in the first round because I could see him going 4th or 24th. Neither one of those would shock me.
I don't think he gets really past probably 14 or so myself. Fair. There's that run where maybe the Eagles or somebody like that, they've got teams, they've got the multiple picks. Just too talented of a player. Now, if you're worried about the non-alpha male and you're worried about maybe a potential with the foot problems, those are the types of things you're going to have to deal with.
Do you think he runs in Indy?
He's not ready. He's only running straight ahead right now from what I heard. He's not ready to run. He's not really ready to run.
That's kind of a bummer. He ran a 4.3 in a high school combine. And
he'll run at LSU and they'll go really fast.
Yes, that's fair.
LSU program would be good.
My man would have been top 3.
I think he would have been top 5, sure.
If he had been able to go pro after 2019.
Another name, just by the way, that we saw at the Senior Bowl that I think is going to run a really quick 40, going back to wide receivers, even though I know you said you don't care about wide receivers at the Combine. But Calvin Austin III out of Memphis, little slot receiver. That dude's going to fly in Indy. He may be the quickest out of the bunch.
Or tiny guys. Wandale Robinson,
tiny
Kentucky.
Guy. Oh, yeah, he'll
Another
fly.
tiny guy.
Sky Moore will fly. Those could be the top 3 or 4 numbers.
I don't know if Sky's going to fly, and that's my guy.
You don't think so?
I don't know if he's going to fly, and that's my guy.
I think he's going to fly.
Are we setting ourselves up for
4 twos, baby?
No, sir. I'm setting myself up for 40 times do not define football players. Sky Moore's badass because he has lightning quick feet and is hell after the ball's in his hands.
His tape's really good. I mean, I just kind of think he's a slot player myself.
Damn right he is. Where does Cooper Kupp play? Is that a problem? Is that a problem?
Not a problem.
Do you want Cooper Kupp to line up outside? Do you hate him?
Occasionally. I don't hate Cooper. I was the one guy on this show that liked Cooper Kupp. My gosh, what are you doing?
Slot-only guy. You can't pick him too high.
I didn't say that Cooper Kupp was a slot-only guy.
He is.
Well, I didn't say that. You did.
Well, he is.
Yeah, well, he plays outside too.
Yeah, is he a slot-only guy?
Not anymore. Slot-only guy. He's a back stack in the slot, motion through the backfield. Yes.
I think he could probably play out there if they wanted him to.
Let's see it.
He's just really good in the slot.
Yeah. It's just a good football player.
No, I'm just laughing because I'm imagining Saturday of draft weekend. Whatever, I don't know. Not all the picks are finalized, but whenever the Cowboys pick in the 4th round, they won't pick Sky Moore, and then Jeff will be like, "Well,
Sky Moore is
Cowboys
don't
want a
in
good
the
football
4th
player.
round.
Whatever, the 3rd.
I got
round.
bad news for you, brother.
3rd round, whatever.
Getting picked in the 30s.
I just like watching Jeff get indignant when his pet cats slide.
Damn right,
it's a favorite.
My guy ain't sliding.
Ardarius Washington last year.
Hey, listen, he couldn't help that he was 5'6".
5'8".
I was at least fair about that one. I was like, look, I love him. There's no chance he gets drafted on the first 2 days because he's tiny.
Then he didn't get drafted at all, right?
No, he didn't. But he made the 53.
He did.
You
That's
bet
true.
your butt he
did.
did.
He did make the
There's
roster.
nothing worse than working a draft for 3 days and they're like, well, who's your best available? And you said the same guy for the last 2.5 hours.
It's same guy as it was yesterday. Thanks for asking.
Still him.
Go and ask Dane. He'll tell you.
I'm not talking trash about Sky Moore. I want to be clear about that.
Or are you?
No, I just
Called him a 4th rounder just now.
I mean,
He
I
did do
heard you
that.
say it.
He did say that.
what is I'm looking at his like what Dane our buddy Dane Brugler had him like in the top 100, right?
Yeah. But where he had him is wrong. Yeah.
85 or so?
I had it pulled up.
Am I remembering that wrong?
But he's wrong. Just like Brian probably is going to say that he's wrong. He has Ed Ingram 80th, and that's wrong, right?
Nah.
What?
No.
It's not wrong.
Then you can't love
No,
him.
no.
Oh, dude,
no.
check this out. Sky Moore is 79.
Okay.
Ed Ingram is 80.
Touching tags.
Okay, Dane has missed Ed Ingram then.
That's
He's
what I'm
missed
saying,
him.
yeah.
He's missed. Okay, that's what you're asking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's wrong.
I mean, you would draft Ed Ingram, and did you say you would draft him 24th or second round? Okay.
Yeah.
Top 50. What
Yep.
okay.
Top 50.
So
He said over Zion Johnson.
I don't have Zion.
yeah.
I don't have
You have
Zion
him
Johnson in
lower.
the first round.
That's right.
That's my thing.
All right. I mean, I could ask y'all for more names, but we've got another show to do Thursday.
Bob, Ryan, Tim.
Oh, God,
That was actually pretty good.
we do this show too early in the morning for me to be able to keep up with you sometimes. All right, we're done. We're signing off the show. We can talk more Combine on Thursday. I hope this was as informative for you as it was entertaining for us. I don't know. Thanks for joining me, guys. This was the Draft Show. That's Jeff. We'll talk to y'all next time.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this,